Morning, and thank you for registering for today's webinar with Prompt and Markree Castle. It's entitled Reduce Payment Costs and Friction with Pay by Bank. So we're all going to find out a lot more about that. It's all about Pay by Bank and how it's emerging as an alternative payment method in hospitality, particularly for high value transactions like weddings, group bookings, and corporate events. Welcome. My name is Jane Pendlebury. I am the CEO of HOSPA, the Hospitality Professionals Association. It's Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026, and it's 10 a.m. And regulars will notice that I'm not in my office as usual. Today, I'm lucky enough to be at the other house in Kensington. We're hosting an event downstairs, so I've literally just nipped out to host this webinar in one of their meeting rooms. I'm very grateful to Prompt and Markree Castle for helping us pull together this webinar today, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Murray from Prompt and Nicholas Ryan from Markree Castle. We're due to be chatting for around 20 to 25 minutes today with time for questions. So we should be finished by about 11:15, depending on how many questions we get. And on that topic, please do ask questions throughout using the Q&A option, which is probably at the bottom of your screen. You might have to click on more to see them, but please just pop them in there. And if there's not enough time to answer them all, we will get back to you with answers afterwards. Finally, the webinar is being recorded and we'll happily share the link afterwards, and it will also be available on our website and YouTube channel later this week. So we're 1 minute past 10. We're going to get started. I'm going to ask both Ian and Nicholas to introduce themselves. Ian, do you want to tell us who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Jane. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Ian Murray, and I'm the VP of Client Growth at Prompt. So, at Prompt, I specialize in working with and doing a lot of presentations for our hospitality clients and finding out what they need in terms of PMS integrations, payment methods, and features that we build. So, excited to show you open banking and how it works in your sector and how it's expanded over the past 2 years.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to learning more about it. And Nicholas, can you tell us who you are and where you work, and tell us a little bit about Markree Castle as well?
Good morning. I'm Nicholas Ryan. I'm the general manager of Markree Castle. So we're a 31-bedroom castle in the northwest of Ireland, and we operate primarily as a private hire wedding venue. We have last year we had 180 weddings, 40 of them were 2-day weddings, and we supplement that in between opening as a hotel and taking tours.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to be asking you more about how long you've been working for Prompt and those kinds of questions, but I think probably what we need to do is just set the scene and ask Ian to just tell us what this is effectively.
Yeah, that's no problem. So, pay by bank or open banking is essentially a payment method which facilitates an account to account bank transfer between a customer and the merchant they're paying for, whereby you as a customer have a new payment method if the merchant provides it on top of card, which enables you to pay them directly from your account via an online or mobile banking app transaction. The payment settles directly into that merchant's bank account, and it's a quick and seamless payment option. So I guess the history of kind of open banking in general. So maybe we'll give a bit of context and a little summary of the flow. So in 2015, the Payments Service Directive (PDS2) was implemented in the UK and across the EU. And what that did is it did two things really. It added a number of innovations in security to make sure remote payments, customers' data, card information is protected more. But what it also wanted to do at the same time is over time, make it a more automated, seamless flow for customers. So they're not security and kind of checkout experience aren't mutually exclusive. The checks are put in place at an early stage to make it seamless long term. And one of the innovations that were brought out were open banking. This is where your traditional banks across the EU and UK were mandated to open their APIs so that secure access to their customers' bank accounts and information were available to build innovative solutions like open banking. So it's been around. We've had it for 6 years. It's gone from strength to strength throughout the EU where we work and in the UK. We started with a few businesses in each of our sectors, and I would say if open banking were a payment option like a gateway, it would be our largest one by a mile. It's grown year on year. I'll just quickly explain the kind of flow, and it might make more sense as well. So the way the flow works is if your merchant, which again, some of our industries, 90% of merchants already have it, and the 10% are looking to get it. So if they have open bank as an option, you would have this option normally paired with card, or it may be the only option in a certain scenario where it's a high value payment or bank transfer is the ideal method. Instead of inputting your card data, you will be given a choice of all of the retail banks that are available in your region, whether it's all, if you're an Irish customer, all your Irish banks, if you're a UK customer, all UK banks. Choose your bank and then you'll be directed to your online banking if you're on a computer, a tablet, or it'll know if I'm on a phone and I have the app, it'll redirect you to your app, where you log in securely, however you normally log in. So fingerprint, face recognition, password. And once you log in, you're instantly brought to your bank transfer screen where you choose what account you want to send it from. So it's bringing you to the exact same flow that you follow on your banking app or online banking, but it's actually, once you log in, it's bringing you to the last part, which is choosing what account I want to send it from and initiating it because you've authenticated yourself as the owner of the account. Once you select and you approve the transfer, you will then be redirected to your checkout flow. So where it's Prompt will redirect you to our email or SMS, wherever you're interacting with Prompt, telling you that's been initiated successfully. The merchant will be updated and they'll be told that payment has been approved and it settles directly in that merchant's bank account. A lot of times, like in the UK, faster payments, now we have it in Ireland, it can settle within a few seconds. It'll settle as a regular bank transfer, but a lot of times, like Prompt, we'll have additional piece of information, a unique identifier, so you can tie it back to your system on Prompt and information. So I guess with that flow, you're getting all the benefits of using a bank transfer, but there's no sharing of bank information. And also the customer has to authenticate themselves through their open banking. So reducing the time, both sides, both the merchant and the customer is spending, but enhancing the security overall. And again, it's been around. So we've had it for 6 years now, and I'd say 70 to 80% of our customers have it, and the other 20% are seriously considering it. So that's kind of a brief summary of what it does. Hopefully that made sense.
That made perfect sense. Perhaps Nicholas, if you can say how you're actually using it at Markree Castle, where you've seen the benefits, who within your teams are using it, how does it actually work in reality when you're dealing directly with customers?
We are using it primarily for wedding deposits. These are the big transactions. So we would take 3 wedding deposits in advance of a wedding. The initial booking deposit, a €2,000 deposit, a final €1,000 deposit. And then what we've started to use it at the moment is that we send people a link a week before their wedding so they can pay their final balance. So they're not left trying to pay by card on a Sunday morning, for example, with limits and everything like that. Who is using it mostly is our wedding team. So we've linked Prompt now to our customer relationship inquiry management platform so that using the API that we have with Prompt, our wedding team can request a deposit directly without having to actually log into Prompt. They can do it from Pipedrive is what we use. They can choose to send a credit card link. They can choose to send a bank link. So for all of our Irish customers, we will send a bank link directly. We won't send a credit card link. If we see an international address, we know that we can send them a credit card link. So nearly all of our Irish payments are now coming through pay by bank, which is probably 47% of our deposit payments at the moment are pay by bank, which is great.
Brilliant. And how long have you been using the system for, Nicholas?
Over 2.5 years.
Brilliant.
What's brilliant, Joy, the guests are directed to our website initially, and that's the first page that they see. And then after that, they're directed from there to their bank to authenticate the payment. We get to determine what information. We pre-populate the form. So we pre-populate their account number within the hotel. We pre-populate the couple's name. We pre-populate the wedding address, the wedding date. So once it arrives into the bank, it's very clear who the money is coming from. The accounts department can see it. The wedding department can see it. Because of the automation that we have, when the Prompt link is sent out, our accounts department will receive an email that says, we've sent this link to this couple. So they're expecting it in advance. We used to spend a lot of time people transfer lots of money without putting proper details in, and we used to spend an awful lot of money, a lot of time trying to figure out who was the payment from. Maybe it's from somebody's parents. It's kind of eliminated all of that time.
Yeah, so I can see the time saving there on just that
Yeah.
reconciliation piece can probably be massive. And I guess the other direct benefits are just sort of ease of use for your teams. They can just get on and set this up much more easily probably than having to get all the information across to the client and wait. It's just a very secure, quick, and easy way to get them to pay their bills. Are there other efficiency savings as well as those ones I've just touched on?
Well, there's also the financial saving of pay by bank rather than pay by card, so you're saving on transaction fees.
Brilliant. And do you get much, are the guests happy to do it generally? Do you get much kickback or confusion?
Yeah, I suppose because we take three deposits and sometimes four payments, maybe the first one they need a little bit of help and just a little bit of reassurance. But once the first payment is made, after that we get very few inquiries. We use it for smaller items as well, so we don't take card payments over the phone anymore. So we do use it for payment for lost property, for postage. We use it for if somebody wants to pay maybe in advance for a room, kind of in an ad hoc basis, we can send them a link as well. So our front office team will use it for smaller payments as well as the bigger payments.
That's great, actually. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Lost property.
Yeah.
So after the event, they get to pay that. And I think at the beginning we said it was really useful for the bigger transactions. I think maybe that was you, Ian, that said that for the larger ones. But clearly,
Yeah.
the work across the board has lost property, presumably isn't unless they've left behind, half their house. It's probably not a massive transaction.
It's 13, 14 euros for a parcel, things, the small things like that. And they can be traced again, from the accounts department to make sure it's been paid and where did it come from. So it saves time on this.
Yeah, and it's immediate, which is fantastic, especially if it is lost property. That's a great example of actually both you want rid of the lost property and the guest wants their property back, I think, as quickly as possible. So I guess as a wedding venue, it's a perfect scenario. Ian, is it in use in many other operations as well? Obviously, hotels that don't do weddings are still using your solution.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess where we began with open banking came from, so we have kind of four very big sectors. Hospitality is our biggest sector, but then also three other big sectors are automotive, high-end retail and kind of expensive retail, and then also we also have a good bit in hardware and building supply and construction. So I guess in a lot of these industries, there's lots of, and where open banking works best is it works best for your domestic payments. So if you're taking in international payments, there can be a bit of IBAN discrimination and it can be a little bit clunkier. But where we push our customers to really focus on is domestic payments. So these were the kind of best ones to start with because you're not going to, fly over to Spain to buy a car. A lot of times you're going to buy in your local dealership. You're not going to, go to a local, building supplier in a different country, and the same with a retailer. So we started there, but as we've kind of built out open banking and worked with more and more hotels that are interested in it, there's hotels are recognizing this as a viable option for their domestic business, which is a massive part. So like Nicholas was saying, your weddings, your meetings and events, a lot of your customers as well, a lot of people are staying domestically. If you think of certain segments of clientele, like let's say maybe people who, young parents who might have kids that are quite young, they mightn't be able to fly very far, but they want to bring them on a kind of tester holiday. Speaking personally myself, they might be too afraid to kind of attempt the plane for another year or two, or people who just like, want to stay locally or a big family holiday. And it's kind of using your data to find out where your domestic business is to have this open banking as an option. And I guess just to your example, it's the three main advantages that they're all getting from the open banking because it's the same advantages, and for me it falls into three large sections in terms of advantages, and I touched on one. So I guess the first one is saving. So again, there's both a cost saving, as Nicholas was kind of explaining. So again, for your higher value payments that you know that are domestic, my 10,000, 20,000, 5,000, wedding deposits, meetings and events, or large bookings that are domestic, they're normally domestic based. It's a method to make sure that they pay via pay by bank, which the business would already try to push if they can. And because now people have to pass, when you pay for online using, with your card, you have to pass 3D Secure anyway. You have to authenticate yourself. So people are used to it. So it's not as much as a kind of, it's not as tough to get a customer to do it as it would have been before PDS2 and 3DS2. And there's also the overhead and time spent by both staff and customers to input card data. So the kind of costing is very significant once you know where it can be utilized, which is a large section of your business. The two other big advantages is the safety aspect. So again, across lots of, hotels, because hotels take so many remote payments from so many different sources, it's not, there's always, a focus on safety and to make sure everything is secure as possible. So with open banking, you're getting a method of taking a bank transfer where there's no bank data shared. You're sending them a link or a checkout, bring them through checkout where they authenticate themselves when they choose their bank. They have to authenticate themselves through their banking's enhanced security. And as well, your open banking provider will have an enhanced due diligence on the merchant you're dealing with before they can even have it enabled. So you're getting that. And I guess the last thing I want to touch on is the last advantage is the kind of, and it's just from talking to hospitality clients. And again, leaning back to, we sell to lots of sectors, but by a country mile, hospitality is just its own beast in terms of the complexity of your payment stack. If you think about an automotive, I'm selling cars, parts and service, my business is local, but like I'm a hotel, I'm taking payments online, I'm taking payments from my property management system, I'm taking payments from a whole host of areas. And it's about, can we get all of our remote payments and all of our options on all the different kind of areas where we offer checkout? So can we have it all in one source where you can orchestrate and control what options are available to your customer at each stage? So I guess for us at Prompt, that's what we aim to do with open banking with hospitality. So we have the Opera integration, which facilitates the integration to your PMS, but we have the options to integrate to any card provider. But this open banking is the kind of last real piece that we wanted to put in place to make sure that you can both control from all your sources of remote payment what options the customer should have. Should it be card only? Should it be bank only? Should it be both options? Because we can orchestrate it. But it's also to give the customer those options as well, and make sure that they have the choice to follow whatever method that they want to choose. Like even like you find with open banking, like because Revolut's an option in open banking, and you could have someone who just likes using the Revolut, and to give the customer the suite of options for what they want to do. It's small things that get people to come back. It's the branding, it's the experience, and it's also letting people pay you how they want to pay if it's a method you want to take. And what it does is it just gives you control and all your options in one place. So yeah, sorry.
No, no, that's great, and I'm sure you'd echo all of that, Nicholas. From your teams are obviously happily using the system. Otherwise, you wouldn't have agreed to come onto this webinar, I'm sure. So, and all of those, I guess, are ringing true to you from the security and the time saving, the cost saving. It's all you can back that up in real life.
Yeah, every single one of them.
Brilliant. I'm just diving straight into a question because Ian, you mentioned there you would go to Spain to buy a car. Well, yeah, I'm sure some people have done that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Local payments is where you've got this at. The question is, I understand this is available for UK and Ireland only. Is there any plans to open up bank transfer transactions to other areas? I don't know if you're going to know the
No,
answer to that, but
no, that's all. No, it's open, so all it's we can open it up to any kind of any areas within the EU where it was mandated and any countries where it's been introduced. So yeah, across Europe, like we can turn it on easily, and you will have your local and you'll have the same ability. It'll work for all your domestic payments and customers. So yeah, no, it's ready to go. It's just we kind of obviously we started with a few clients that were closer to us, but yeah, it's available. We have customers that are looking to roll it out and test it out in those regions as well.
And Nicholas, you open it up to anybody that's having a wedding wherever they're based, or do you restrict it to your local area when you're charging
I
pay by?
suppose for Prompt specifically, we open it up to everybody, and the wedding team make a decision as to what type of link they will send. For domestic, we will send only a bank link to start with. If we have American clients, we'll send them the card payment option as well.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. I've got another question here, and if anyone's ever heard me on a webinar before, they'll have heard me say you've got to give the client choice, and I think that might be the answer to this. But the question is, how do you deal with a corporate booking whereby the company is paying for the event? In some instances, the company will want to pay within their payment run and under their credit terms. What do you do, Nicholas, in reality, if it's more of a corporate event, not necessarily a family wedding?
I suppose that depends on the scenario and it depends on the situation. It really does.
Yeah.
We will always require a deposit, and that will always come through Prompt. And then the final payment, look, it depends on the relationship with the company.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely sure that they'll be just as happy to have a secure payment and not be sharing bank details, because that's got to be the key, isn't it, to the future? Right. Okay. So let's go back to you mentioned also at the beginning that it's suited to high value hospitality payments. Is that just because of I say just, it's a very important part of it, but is that because of the increased security, or is there another reason why it's particularly suited to high transaction values?
So I can jump in maybe, Nicholas, you give your 2 cents then, because it'd be good to hear from you too. But I guess from my experience, where open banking really, really works is obviously we touched on domestic payments because that's where it is a very seamless process. But where it works and in other sectors is if it's more of a unique purchase. So let's say I'm going in, I'm getting my coffee. I'm going to just want to scan my card. Stuff like that. Or even maybe a lot of in a hotel, maybe a lot of your room reservations where people will expect kind of just to put in the card information. But now it is getting better because open banking's out there a lot, but where it really is utilized and is where it's a unique experience. So you're meeting an event, your weddings, maybe a large group booking as well for a reservation, and maybe a larger fee for a reservation where as a customer, you know that this isn't just me staying one night because I'm traveling, going somewhere. It's a unique experience at that hotel. It's a wedding, it's a meeting, an event, it's a longer stay, it's a group booking where I'm kind of expecting the hotel to have their own method of payment. And that's where it's kind of seamless because they kind of expect it to be this kind of enhanced, kind of overly secure manual process, and then we provide just approving your bank and it's a seamless flow. So that's where we see it, and that's why the larger payments are usually utilized because on top of targeting it because the hotel are already getting the customer because if it's a certain size of a payment, a lot of times the hotel will just mandate the customers to pay via bank transfer, a manual bank transfer. It'll just be, look, it's over a certain size, you need you to pay a bank transfer. But the beauty of it is the customer is expecting them to have to. And when you do a big bank transfer, you input the kind of IBAN whatever, and you're like, did I put something wrong in? I do anyway. And it's just the knowledge of, oh, it's taken from me, and I'm following the most secure method, and I've expected it to be a manual and risky process where I'm sweating a bit, but it's a lot cleaner and easier to do. So that's where we find it working.
Brilliant. And there's another question here actually about branding, and I think Nicholas, you'll probably be able to answer this one. So when your payments are set up, somebody is paying their wedding deposit, whatever it might be for Markree Castle. When they're going through the process, where does the Markree Castle branding start and stop?
So they're directed to a page on our website. So it's a www.markreecastle, and it's a secure page, and that people know it's our website. They're not on a funny website. It's not an unusual address, so they feel more secure. It's got our branding. It looks like the website.
Brilliant. Okay, so they know from the very beginning that they're not transferring to the wrong person. It just
Yeah,
cuts out all
exactly.
that additional information. Brilliant. Okay.
Like the last thing like we want the customer to see is ourselves in any way, shape or form on a hotel's checkout experience. So even when a hotel, and I'm sure other providers do this, when they use us, we custom brand. So when you send something from Prompt, the imagery, the color of the button, font, footer, social media links. It's like a letter from your hotel. The link will redirect to a page on our website. It'll be, we want to we want to do it, and we want to facilitate the open banking in the checkout in the background. But especially in hospitality, it's so important to not put yourself in anywhere on the actual experience because it's your property you're staying in. You want to give off that sense of quality. And again, going back to, I have young kids, you mightn't get out much, and these things go a long way. And even the branded message before you stay, it's so important in hospitality just to kind of showcase what they expect when they get on property. So yeah, that's all. That's all there.
And there's another question here, which I'm quite sure is from somebody who is chasing debts for their business. Can you set up payment reminders, notifications after? So you send the link across to them,
Yeah.
and if they don't pay straight away, can you sort of automate a follow-up process?
Yeah, 100%. So on Prompt, we have lots of out-of-the-box functionality. So on top of giving you an out-of-the-box integration to Opera or your PMS that basically automates the entire process, there's automatic reminders tagged on. So you can set if the customer doesn't. So the first thing we do is we'll make sure the link expires after whatever time it should expire because that's also important. So you have a set number of rooms or events. I don't pay on time. Nicholas comes and pays on time. I come back 2 months later and pay, and you have a problem. So first thing, your link will expire after whatever time they should expire. So you know that they're cut off and I can sell the room event to someone else. But what we will do is we can enable automatic reminders so the customer is followed up as many times from the time you send it using Prompt through our Opera integration or our web app to the time it expires. And you could have multiple reminders and also a different message based on how late they are. So, and again, it's not going to be like some of our clients may be more formal. With hospitality, it might just be very informal reminder and maybe another reminder and maybe even a third reminder before the link expires. Just go, please note if you don't receive payment, it won't be available. So their entire chase process is automated on our behalf and it's out of the box functionality. And notifications will be sent. So when a payment is made, we will notify you instantly. If you're using our integration to Opera, it'll update Opera instantly in real time. And also, if you're using a web app, you will get a separate payment received alert telling you that bank transfer has successfully left that customer's bank account as well.
So that will let both the accounts department know and the operator who's running the business. So yeah, you don't have to worry, Nicholas, for your team's not
No,
knowing
we
that
don't.
someone's paid. It's gone through. Brilliant. That was actually one of the next questions coming in was about how do you get notified. So you've preempted that one, which is fantastic. Another query here. For credit card, the client gets the benefit of a month's interest. For bank payments, money goes out immediately. Interesting. Do you offer the client a discount for bank transfer? Let's not put that in their idea in their heads.
No,
So
yeah,
yes, you don't offer
no,
that.
no, we don't.
No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
Um, we've seen it in other sectors. So again, maybe like let's say I'm a large construction company and I have lots of account customers and they're using very expensive corporate cards for 50,000 payments and stuff, and you might say free delivery or this, that, and the other. So there can be sometimes, but we haven't seen it too much in hospitality to date.
No, and I guess if they've got their invoice and it's due within 30 days or whatever, then they can pay
Yeah.
it on day 29, day 30 if that's what they want to do. And we've touched on a lot how one of the big benefits of this is security. You're not sharing information, all the links are there. It's all very good, not just on cost saving and time saving, but from a security perspective as well. I've got a question here saying that credit cards offer fraud protection. Is there a similar protection for bank transfer? Now I'm thinking that risk is going to be so much lower. In fact, almost negligible, or is that naive of me to think that there is very little risk with pay by bank?
Yeah, so I guess so there's a few parts of this answer. So hopefully I give a good response, but let me know otherwise. So the first thing is the beauty of pay by bank is that it's your customer's retail bank that is putting their customer through their security and authentication process to log into the account, and then it's their bank that's authenticating the release of funds. So there is similar to 3D Secure an authentic proof of authentication that a bank has let that customer or a person log in and release funds. So the onus is still on the customer's bank. Now, again, like 3D Secure in card, um, I don't like telling anybody that 3D Secure protects you from everything. This protects you from everything. I think like people will always find ways to get their hands on items, stay nice in a hotel, a number of, with someone else's card. There's always going to be fraudsters out there. And I guess what we do in Prompt is we look to add on to the checkout experience to make everything as defendable as possible so you know you're covered. So let's say for open banking, um, on top of on top of the customer having to authenticate themselves with their own bank to pay you, the merchant, which covers you in a sense, we also add a three-layer form of defense before they even pass through their card payment or open banking flow. Three layers are on their checkout flow. The first thing we do is we give them a clear indication of what's happening and what they're paying for. So before they even get to the payment, it'll say, "Hi Ian, this hotel is requesting payment for your wedding." It'll pull in your invoice number details and we'll have a link saying learn more about your payment. We'll tell you what email it came from, at what time, who sent it, and in block writing, do you trust this payment? If not, do not proceed. So a lot of chargeback claims can come from friendly fraud, people claiming they didn't know what they paid for, people chancing their arm. This is proof they knew what they were paying for. It's also a very important thing to put in place with open banking in case there's any social engineering attempts, which is this kind of destroys any attempts because it's so clear to they literally have to read what this is about before they proceed. The other two things we do is we mandate the customers to accept your terms and conditions before they pay. We have this feature available to all Prompt customers. So again, 3D secure authentication, it only covers you so much. There's also refund policies, not, if you've run non-refundable deposits, behaviors on site, and other things you want to cover yourself for, we mandate that. And then the last line of defense is we have a card limiting feature that we've implemented across all of our clients. So a lot of times when people get a hold of cards that aren't theirs, they'll wait until they have a large number and attempt all at once with all the cards, and one finally gets through. We can see a similar thing happening maybe when people get more sophisticated with open banking, and we want to stay ahead of it. So what we also do is we will recognize if someone is trying to reattempt a large number of times, and I think if it's in quick succession, up to 5 times, we'll actually block that payment and let the hotel review it and see, is someone having an absolute nightmare with their phone, or is this something that you want to put on hold because we all are well able to use our phone at this stage. So it's that we put those three layers on top of you being covered because it's your customer's bank that is both authenticating and releasing the funds.
So the security really is there. So I guess, Nicholas, would you say that the issue of chargebacks, which is always a big issue for people when people are paying for other people's events with their credit card, is that must be presumably diminished for you, Mark?
I don't think we've ever dealt with the chargeback since we moved over to Prompt, I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
That's going to be music to lots of
Yeah,
people's ears, for sure. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think you called it friendly for fraud in. I don't know.
Yeah, it's trying just proactively staying ahead and we want to make everything as defendable as possible, even though it probably won't happen. So again, you're not going to get the chargebacks a lot of times because we have so many security checks in place. But if an edge case that we haven't even figured out happens to you, you have those three layers where you can defend them very effectively.
Yes, and the guest really, yes, as you say, putting the responsibility onto them is quite a good thing to do, isn't it? I've got a very operational question here. Does this work with the existing merchant ID or require a separate, I guess that separate merchant ID to track the payments?
Yeah, so what we require, it doesn't, so again, open banking doesn't require any merchant IDs. So that would be a card setup. So what we do is, with open banking, we have a KYC process where we bring you through an enhanced due diligence process. And then once you pass that, we would enable the open banking feature ourselves or through one of our partners as well. It would have the same flow. So it's quite a quick but secure process to get set up. So there's no, so a lot of times it's as long as you pass security KYC, it's getting secure and official bank information so we can hook things up and test it and make sure it works for you. So
The KYC, know your customer, which
yes, sorry.
yes, no, that's fine. Um, so yes, so pay by bank is obviously a very much more efficient way of getting your money transferred from your guests through to your bank. Do you when people are using this, Nicholas, because for the user, for the clients, it's still relatively new. I guess a lot of them will be doing it for the first time when they're paying for their family wedding. Do you get much pushback from that? Do you get people worried about it, or is your process quite slick and people don't quit?
The process is quite slick, and no, we don't get we don't get much pushback. We may get a phone call to say, "Is this correct? Is this link? Should we follow it?" And we'll say, "Yeah, this is the procedure we have in place." But as I said, we make four payments generally before a wedding. The first one may take a phone call, but after that, the next ones just flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Okay. And returning to the international topic, actually, the most recent question that's come in, if most of our transactions are international, would you recommend implementing it? I think that's one for you, Ian. So most of the transactions being international.
So there's two things you have to consider for international payments. One is is this customer actually in a region where open banking is available? And two, can there be IBAN discrimination? So I guess there are certain countries where maybe a large portion of your business comes from where it's not available. So let's say you're US based clientele or open banking really isn't an option yet. So it's not going to work where it's not available yet. And then for the other international payments, even now it does work, but it's quite clunky. So even across the EU, the same currency, but a lot of these banks might have different identifiers from country to country. So there just is a bit of IBAN discrimination. It's really utilized for your domestic payments. So, but again, I think the beauty of it is when we talk to hotels now, they actually have the data to be able to recognize. So they will have their customer data, where they're paying from, to be able to identify kind of what cohort are paying domestically. So we'd always advise that it's best used for your domestic based business. And that could be a room stays, that could be any type of customer as long as they're domestic based.
Right. Okay. And somebody's digging deep on this one. So we might have to move on. But it says, please ask Nicholas, what proportion of US customers use the IBAN? And then I think coming back to you, Ian, what is IBAN discrimination? So do you get a lot of US clientele at the castle, Nicholas, or is it maybe?
20% of our weddings are probably US based.
No.
They don't use the IBAN pay by bank, but we're at least when we use Prompt, we're using the same system. So it's not like we have one system for pay by bank and can't do pay by bank. We send you a different system. So they actually nearly go through the same procedure. We send them the same link. It all looks the same. It feels the same. They just use a different final payment method. So from our point of view, it's easier. We're not managing two systems.
Okay,
And
cool.
again, because on a wedding contract, we have their address. We can see exactly where they're from. It may be a 50-50 Irish American wedding. We'll take a chance with the Irish bank account. Pay by bank, they'll come back and say we can't do pay by bank, then we'll send them pay by card. Again, it looks exactly the same. So
And I
Okay.
guess like for that scenario where they can't use or they refuse to use the open banking option, the beauty of Prompt is that will connect to your card provider for card and open banking. So you have that dual option. And even if they use card, so like a lot of our customers who will be using Prompt for a lot of card for their card payments, there could be up to 15 to 20% in savings as well. Because what you're doing with Prompt for card is you're taking payments through e-commerce rails where maybe a lot of times you might have taken a payment over the phone and then putting card data into a terminal. And what that does is more normally you'll have a higher rate to take payments over the phone because you're not authenticating the customer, you're just inputting card data and there's a premium to get charged. Also, you're opening yourself up to more chargebacks and there's a bit more time spent. So even if you use the card option, because it's a more secure way. The customer goes through your card provider's authentication process compared to just taking a payment over the phone. You're normally put on a better rate with them, so you're paying less anyway if you use card. So both options bring you savings. And again, if you use our integration as well, it's all automated through Opera as well or through our web app.
Brilliant. I know we've worked with Prompt for a number of years, and it's we never cease to get very positive feedback on people that are using Prompt just from that sort of additional security. But the benefits for hotels are really there, aren't they? Reducing card fees, cash flow, I guess, could be a very positive result as well if people are paying promptly. As we've discussed, reducing fraud and chargeback, and then just streamlining the operations and keeping the staff in the hotel, making it easier and less complaints for them. And then the quick access to funds, that's got to be a big benefit as well. So that has actually exhausted our live questions. Oh, one more has literally just come in. Let's just see what that is. But is there anything, Nicholas, that you wanted me to ask you that I haven't asked you, or do you think you've covered everything that you wanted?
No, I think that's everything. That's okay.
Yeah, no, that's good. Actually, we have already answered this one during the webinar. The question is, does the payment link have a timeline? And you have said that yes, you can put your timelines on, and you can presumably vary those depending on who it is that's
100%. And even if they're just in case they're referring to how quickly it is to get this set up, it's a very quick process. The open banking is quick to set up. We work with your card merchant service or card provider to get linked to their rails, and then if you're using Opera, we'll hook it up to Opera in a day or two, and then just do all your branding. So in terms of implementing Prompt, it's very quick. In case you're referring to that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Probably not, but just in case.
There you go. So the other people. Thank you, Nicholas. That was great to hear from somebody that's using it and happily using it, and it working really well for you in a venue that looks beautiful. If your backdrop is anything to go by, I must come and visit. Looks fantastic. And thank you. So thank you for your input, and thank you, Ian, for your technical expertise, which is fabulous. And as I always say at the end of these webinars, if anyone listening needs formal advice, then please do approach your professional advisors or come to me at HOSPA for a referral. And please also let me know if you'd like to be directly introduced to either Ian from Prompt or Nicholas from Markree Castle as well. Please take a look at the hospa.org website for other upcoming events. We've got a number of webinars as well as a few in-person events coming up too. And as I mentioned, right now we're hosting one in the hotel that I'm in right now, so I should be popping that back and joining that shortly. On Thursday this week, we've got our annual finance update. So I imagine a lot of people who are listening in today, that's an in-person event at BDO's offices on Baker Street. So that's Thursday, the 11th of June. So please register for that. If it's a great summary of what's going on and a lovely covering of what to look out for. And then finally, the Hotel Marketing Awards take place on the 22nd of June, end of this month, at the Waldorf Hilton. So plenty of that on the HOSPA website. So please do take a look and register for those events. But thank you very much to our expert speakers today, so Ian and Nicholas. Very much appreciate that. And for everyone listening today and asking the questions. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks very much and goodbye.
Thanks for arranging,
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.